Hey, this is Pastor Ryan. Thanks for joining us for the Sunday Preview. This week's passage is Acts chapter 8, verses 26 through 40. The first thing we see is a divine appointment. We see a number of characters here. We see an angel of the Lord. He's talking with Philip. He's going to meet with an Ethiopian. The Ethiopian was being influenced by the prophet Isaiah, and the Spirit speaks directly to Philip. We're also given a lot of information about the locations involved. Philip is heading south from a road that goes from Jerusalem to Gaza. Later, he's told to go over to the chariot. One interesting thing in the observation phase here are all the descriptions of the Ethiopian. We see he's a eunuch, a court official of Candace, who's in charge of the treasury. We see his heart for worship, that he's seated here on a chariot, and that he's reading and studying the prophet Isaiah. So we get a lot of information on this guy. The next section is taking a look at the divine revelation involved. Philip sees the Ethiopian reading Isaiah, again calling Isaiah a prophet, and asked him a question. Do you understand what you're reading? He replies with a question. How can I, unless someone guides me? Then we get an explicit quotation of the passage at hand. It's from Isaiah chapter 53, verses 7 through 8, a key passage describing the suffering servant in the Old Testament. The Ethiopian asks a clarifying question, and finally, we see Philip giving the answer. The answer is the gospel, and it's found throughout the Old Testament. So we've seen the divine appointment that led to a discussion of divine revelation. Now we get to see these two disciples responding. They see water, and the Ethiopian wants to get baptized. There's no prior discussion of baptism in the immediate context, so we may need to supply some historical context here. The writer stops and gives us an extended description of this baptism. The chariot stops, they went down into the water, making sure you understand it's Philip and the Ethiopian, not anyone else, and finally giving the description of the baptism. We get a time marker following the baptism, and we're told Philip changes locations, finding himself at Azotus through the working of the Spirit, ending up in Caesarea after preaching the gospel to the towns in between. So this Sunday, we're going to be discussing at least a few questions. First, how does this passage fit within the larger narrative of Acts? Second, why was it so important to quote Isaiah 53 and have Philip explain this to the Ethiopian? And finally, why was baptism the normal and natural response to this belief? Thanks for joining us for the Sunday Preview. We're looking forward to worshiping together this Sunday. God's blessings on your week.